Welcome to Service Matters, a weekly radio show that talks about the good things that happen out there in local communities and beyond. We also like to talk about the good things that people do to make a difference and, in many cases, to make dreams real for some folks out there that may very much be in need. I'm Dave Clifton, happy to be your host. My co-host, Valerie Perry, is celebrating her birthday today. We wish her nothing but the best. And I hope, Val, if you're listening, you'll save me a piece of cake, which I really shouldn't be eating. But on WPRO, which is the voice of Southern New England, you can listen to us, folks, on AM 630 or FM 99.7. A big shout out and thank you to our producer back at the station, Brett Ferruccio. And we'd also like to thank our coordinator here at the ECAT studio, which stands for Eastern Community Access Television. I know that the idea of televising our radio show, I think, sounds terrific. So today we not only have a listening audience, but we also have a viewing audience. I'm happy today to say that we hope to have some fun with this show. We actually have two comedians who have joined us. They're both from the Ocean State and Rhode Island. And let me introduce them. Poppy Champlin is a well-known comedian, a producer. She also will talk a little bit about the Nutcracker. Oh. And we know that she's had the opportunity to do her thing on HBO. She also was on the Oprah Winfrey show, which they just don't take anybody like myself to come on the show. It's got to be someone who has some outstanding talent. And I'm happy to have Poppy here today. I'm not talking about Big Poppy, who retired from the Red Sox. I'm talking about Little Poppy.
That's me, Little Poppy.
And she is a big-time comedian. Poppy, let's start with you.
All right.
I'd like to find out what got you started as a comedian. Were you in high school and you told a few jokes and thought you'd be funny and decided to make a career out of it? Tell me about it.
Okay. Well, thanks, Dave, and thanks for having us on today. So I realized at a young age that I had timing with the group. So if there was a group of people, I was able to say the right thing at the right time to make everybody laugh, which was a real power surge for me. You know, I was like, wow, this is really cool. But I really didn't know that I was going to do anything with that until I got into college. And I went to the University of Rhode Island, go Rams, and I got into theater and I wanted to do a monologue in this cabaret, and it was called Oceantics. And so, you know, picture the studio. We were in Studio J. And so everybody, it looked like we were in the belly of a whale. And then all the actors were, you know, sea anemones and seahorses, and, you know. And so I did a monologue and I called it my fish stick. And it was all about the ocean, puns about the ocean. You know, kelp, is there a sturgeon in the house? Oh, migration. What's the matter? You had a herring? Oh, man, I've had it with you. Let me tell you about, I was getting ready to go around Five Fish the other night. Me and the gulls went out to a local sandbar. It was a real dive. And so I was getting ready, and I was putting on my new rig. It was a little bit scampy. Anyway, so we get to the bar, and it was dark. And then you never know, gonna guess what happened. I got carded. So then this quillback carp sucker, you know, he charged me $5 to get in. So I gave him a fin. And I mean, it went on and on and on. And then the next thing you know, something about the skate groupers came storming through the doors, started throwing locks on us. I'm not even Jewish. Then they threw us in the carp cars, cruised us down to the crustacean. The next thing you know, I was in the can on Squid Row. That's all. Tautog.
It's amazing how you can turn those fish stories into something that's real. We also have in the studio with us today, her name is Emily Taradash. She's from Woonsocket, Rhode Island. She's a stand-up comic and a life coach. I'm going to talk a little later about what is a life coach, but how did you get involved in stand-up comedy?
Well, I've always just loved to laugh so much. And comedy is really part of my upbringing. You know, my parents used comedy constantly with us. And so it was just one of the currencies in my family. And then I didn't really think anything of it until quite recently, actually. I was in a group during the pandemic, and you know, the leader of the group was like, hey, you know, you're really funny, and you're funnier than some of the people I know who do stand-up comedy. So you should try it. You should give it a try. And I think maybe that week I got an email, because I was on Poppy's email list, that she was offering classes. And I said, wow, here's an opportunity in Rhode Island for me to take classes with someone who really has had so much experience and is such a great writer and is such a great performer. So I took it. I loved it. I took it again. And, you know, I have a lot of theater training. I have a BA in theater from the University of Vermont, and I have an MFA in costume design from UMass Amherst. So performing is something that's been very natural for me, and I've always written, but I didn't put it together to write it for myself. And so it's great to be able to tell your own story. And if you can get the audience to laugh with you, then there's nothing better than that.
Somebody wanted me to ask this question. What happens, Emily, if you tell a funny story or a funny joke and the audience doesn't laugh? How do you react to something like that as a comedian? Does it get you fired up to go right into something else, or how do you handle it?
I wait. I wait. It's important to wait, actually, because when you're just starting, you get a little antsy and you might want to react. But the more you wait, the more tension you build in the audience. And then almost no matter what you say, they're going to laugh. So if you hold out, the laugh will come.
Wow.
Yeah.
How would you react to that, Poppy?
I run. That's a really good answer. For some reason, I am nervous with the silence. I am not good standing in the silence. I like to move on. Okay, you didn't like that one? Let's go to another one. And that actually happened just last week, because I was doing these, it's Women's History Month. And so, I run an open mic once a month called Hot Mic, and it's at the Pump House in Wakefield, Rhode Island, second Thursday of every month. And they're going great, right? But I'm hosting it, so I feel like, well, it's a hot mic, so open mic means you kind of do new stuff. So every month I do new stuff, which I think I'm going to reconsider. So I was doing some women's history stuff, and I'm like, oh, figures they give women the month of March, which sounds like an order. March, okay, get in the kitchen. And then I did something else, and they just weren't buying it. It's like, let's talk about women's rights. Boo. Let's talk about why aren't we getting our rights? Boo. It's like, oh no. So I had to sort of just ditch it and move on to something else that I already knew was a proven material. I have proven material. So I just kind of just enveloped right over there and went into that.
Let's talk, Poppy, if we may, about... and congratulations, you are going to be inducted into the Rhode Island Hall of Fame as a comedian.
Right, yay!
And that's terrific. And I know there are folks out there that listening or maybe watching that congratulate you as well.
Thank you.
That comes from a lot of years of experience.
40.
Who are some of the people in the Hall of Fame that you look up to?
Well, right now, it is, let's see, who's in there? Ruth Buzzy is in there. Ruth Buzzy is in there, and the gentleman who writes Family Guy, he's in there, Dave. But then the regulars who I started, well, John Perrotta is in there, Charlie Hall, Doreen Collins, Tom Cotter is in there. He was on America's Got Talent. I think he went like all the way. Joe Hebert, he's in there. And who else is in there that I know?
Doreen Collins, I know you mentioned her name, and I'm familiar with her. She's been on the air with us.
Oh, good.
Previously, but that's going to be May 20th?
Yes, May 20th.
Can people go to that? Where is it going to be?
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be at the Comedy Park in Cranston, and all you do is call John Perrotta. He's like in charge of selling the tickets. So I don't know his number offhand, but I can get it by the time this program is over.
Yeah, that's good. I think there may be people interested in going.
Okay.
Are there people that perform that night?
Yeah, Charlie's going to perform. Doreen's going to perform. And I guess it would probably be a little bit of a roasting of the popper.
Oh.
And then I'm going to perform. Like I'm going to do like a 40-minute set.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
And congratulations once again. That's got to be an honor for you.
It's going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
Emily, I'm going to come back to you. I saw your resume, and you're a life coach.
Yes, I am.
I have no idea what that means. You coaching in sports? You're talking about life in general.
So a life coach is someone who helps people who are in their adulthood figure something out. And it's really about looking forward as opposed to looking back. I think a lot of people confuse us with therapists. And, it is certainly therapeutic. But, let's say you need some advice from someone who is, not related to you. And, you want an unbiased opinion. Or if you want to work something out. I tend to work with people who are burnt out. I was very burnt out in about 2018. I did 25 shows as a costume designer, and I got married, so that was 26 productions. And it fried me. It was way too much. And so I talked to people about codependency and overcoming people pleasing, going on a spiritual journey, whatever that means to the person. And really my goal in that is helping people live the lives they really want to live, because no one's going to do it for you, but it's sometimes having someone who's taken those steps and has the courage. When you're around them, you have the courage. And so bringing people together in groups and working one-on-one is what I do in my business.
Interesting. It sounds like you're a person who makes a life out of your passions.
I do, yes.
And I know that comedy is something that you feel that you wanted to participate in. Where have you performed? Do you have any kind of a schedule of shows that you'll be doing?
Well, I have performed at the Hot Mic, which is wonderful, and I hope to do more. So that's at the Pump House in Wakefield. My next show is at the Warwick Knights of Columbus on April Fool's Day, and that's with John Perrotta. That's going to be a really great lineup, and people can reach out to me for tickets or to John Perrotta, either way. And I'm doing a lot of open mics. I'm developing my work. So I have a couple other things that are in the pipeline, but that's the next immediate show.
That's terrific. We're going to take a short break. I wish happy St. Paddy's weekend day to all the folks out there that may be watching or listening. I'm Dave Clifton. You're listening to WPRO, the voice of Southern New England. And we are covered by ECAT, Eastern Community Access Television. Hurry back.
In 2023, Easton is a tight-knit community of 25,000 people. But with the hustle and bustle of modern life, it's easy to forget our past. A time when Easton's population was 6,000.
Everybody knew who everybody
everybody
was.
And there was respect.
There was respect for everyone.
When kids enjoyed great freedom and independence.
Everybody was poor at today's standards, but we all were in the same boat and we enjoyed life.
So join me, Priscilla Almquist-Olsen, as I explore what makes Easton so very special with some of its lifetime residents.
I think Easton has so much to offer
And if you're living in a community, you have to know it.
Watch Growing Up in Easton Tuesdays at 7 p.m. and Friday at 9 p.m. See you then.
Hi, I'm Jen from Fantasy Crafts. Turn your average household items into fun for the whole family. Let your imagination run wild. It was my decision. You be quiet over there. Fantasy Crafts playing Monday at 3 p.m., Wednesday at 1 p.m., only at ECAT.
Welcome back to the another segment of Service Matters, a weekly radio show that likes to talk about the good things that are happening out there in all kinds of communities in our listening audience as well as our viewing audience. And I got to say, folks, that the world's gotten a little crazy. There's a lot of negativity out there that's happening. And it's good to be hosting a show that talks strictly about the good things. And today we're talking about the fun things. And I know, Poppy, you are well known in the Rhode Island area. Tell us about some of the shows in terms of your schedule. I understand that you're very busy with lots of things happening. Not only are you entertaining, but you also do some teaching people how to be funny.
Yeah.
Maybe you could work with me on that.
I don't think so. Good try. No, it definitely is. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's hard. You know, some people come in with great ideas and they are gung-ho, and other people come in with like, I don't know what I'm doing here, help me. I mean, one lady was sent in by her therapist, and I'm like, wow. So, you know, so some people come in drunk and stoned, and then it's a 6-week class. So by the 4th week, when I bring out the poster for the show that we're going to be doing, people start freaking out and they're like, we're doing a show. I can't do it. I'm like, you can do it. No, I can't. And they run away and they go get drunk and they come back and they want to stab me. And you didn't tell us this. And, you know, people go through a lot of.
Are there people that are stage fright?
Yeah, a lot of stage fright. You know, I mean, that's the number one thing that people are afraid of is stage fright. I mean, worse than snakes, worse than, you know, changing your oil. It's like really people are scared of getting on stage.
Do you think as a comedian that it has to be within your heart to be able to do this?
No.
Do people learn how to be comedians?
Yes. See, I think that a lot of it, I mean, there's timing that you probably can't. I say that you can teach timing, because usually you can't really. But I think that you can teach timing if you edit their material in such a way that they can't screw it up. You know, if the joke is written perfectly, then they can do it almost perfectly. They'll screw it up. But if they can do it, but if it's almost perfect, then they can deliver it and it will work, you know? So there is something to be said about timing and delivery, but there's also a lot to be said about writing the joke in a way that is going to land no matter what.
Is there a role model that you have, Poppy? Here you are going into the Hall of Fame. I've heard the name Joan Rivers.
Yeah.
Is that someone that you like to imitate?
Well, what happened was, and don't get offended, but now that you say that, But when I left Rhode Island a few times, but one of the times I went to Texas, and I, had a little bit of a drinking. I had an affinity for drinking, and the other substances that come along with that at 2:00 in the morning. And so I was doing a little bit of that, and my voice started changing, and I started sounding like Joan Rivers. Okay, can we talk? Okay, okay. Melissa, get over here. Get your own show. Get off of mine. Okay, Madonna is such a tramp. Can we talk to him? Okay.
You're amazing, Joan.
Thank you, Dave. Okay, Edgar, did you know my husband? Anyway, and then I came back from Texas, and there was a contest about Joan for a Day, Be Joan for a Day. So I entered the contest. I won in Rhode Island. Little did I know that they were going to fly us all out to LA, and we were going to be on her show. Wow. I'm like, wow. So 3 people from Rhode Island, 3 people from Mass, 3 people from Connecticut. So 3 people from every state was flown out to LA to be on her show, to do an imitation of her on her show. Mostly gay men just going, ow, 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 ow. I had jokes. And so I thought, I'm a shoo-in. And so I was on the show, and I did my jokes, and so when it came down to, okay, the 5 people, and the first person they chose was an African-American dude wearing fishnets and boots. I'm like, no, this is a ruse. This is not going to work. This is a joke. So I didn't think I was going to get in there. But the next thing, the 5th one was me. So I went on main stage and they were like, and Joan wasn't there, though. That was the whole problem. She wasn't even there. She boycotted her show because she doesn't really like people doing, okay. But anyway, I was first runner-up, and I won a beautiful necklace with diamonds and gold and everything from her QVC probably collection, and turned my neck green. So...
Thanks, Joan.
Yeah. But then, so that was over. And then once I moved to Chicago, she was now in New York, and she had her morning show. And all of a sudden there was another contest looking for Joan for a Day or something. And I got in that contest. I won. I beat all the female comedians in Chicago. So I was like, I'm the best in Chicago. Oh my God, don't tell anybody, but I was. And at that time. And then they flew us out to New York, and I was competed in a contest on her TV show. And who was on? What's his name? Alan King was one of the judges. Yeah, so I got to meet Alan King in the green room doing makeup, and I didn't know what to say. What do you say to Alan King? I'm like,
Was Joan Rivers a show?
Yeah, she was there. So she was there. Alan King was there. Caroline from Caroline's. What's his face from Catch a Rising Star? Big comedy people were there, and they were all judging us. I won on national TV. Yeah. Yes, and I got a trophy, and that was it. So
no necklace.
No necklace.
No diamonds this time.
No diamonds this time. But I did get to talk to her, and she's like, "Oh, I heard you were on my other show," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I was on your other show, and I was doing an impression of you going ow ow." And she's like, "Okay, fine," and I don't want to hear it. So, but I did a couple of spots in New York from that, and. I won America's Funniest Real Woman on her TV show. So, yeah. And she taught me how to be a comedian because I did an impression of her at the Viking Theater in Newport, Rhode Island. And I had the boa, I had the wig, I had the dress, I had the nails, I had the heels, I had everything. And I memorized her entire album, What Becomes a Semi-Legend Most. And I did it between a music act. And I didn't realize that was like plagiarism, and you're really not supposed to do that. But I learned timing from her. You know what I mean?
So you've got a good memory too.
I guess. Yeah, you do have to have you do have to have a good memory.
We're going to talk to you about the same thing, Emily, and then we're also going to talk about Poppy being on the Oprah Winfrey Show. Okay. But we're going to take this short break for these important messages. I'm Dave Clifton, happy to be the host with 2 comedians. We'll see you momentarily.
There's a storm.
Join me, Priscilla Almquist-Olsen, to explore the town of Easton and its interesting, engaging, ordinary, and extraordinary people, and meet a smorgasbord of guests, including artists, authors, musicians, business owners, community organizations, clergy, local leaders, etc., etc., etc. Community Forum at 3 p.m. on Thursdays and 1:30 p.m. on Saturdays. See you then.
Here we go. My name is Harrison Young, and after 13 years of talk show experience, I seek to bring you the best in interviews with some of the very best guests around, including, and here we are, experts.
I've seen thousands of demons actually come out of the mirror one time.
Wow. Musical guests and artists.
If I say how I feel, would you really listen?
And interesting characters of all types.
I threw that kid across the classroom. Look, he didn't try that ever again.
Wow. Join me at Topic Time on your Eastern cable station anytime they want to play it. And what I understand, that's quite a few times a day. I love it.
Hello, welcome to Easton News. I'm Abby Kitchenham.
And I'm Jack Ryan, and together we bring you everything you need to know about Easton, including politics.
The annual town election is scheduled for Saturday, April 22nd, 2023.
Community events.
Be Inspired. Counseling presents a parent and child coping workshop centered around a new year and new beginnings.
And sports.
Pressure builds diamonds, so we live by that every day of practice, going into every game.
With APCSM guest segment Pet of the Week.
Hi, I'm Katie with the Animal Protection Center, and today we have a little Iris.
With help from special correspondent Wyatt Fain. Join us
for Easton News.
Playing 6 o'clock Friday, Saturday, and Sundays.
Welcome back to Service Matters, and again we wish all of our listeners and viewers out there a happy St. Paddy's Day weekend. We hope that you folks will wear your green, and we hope that you'll have some fun out there at the same time. And that's the purpose of this show today, is not only to talk about the good things that two comedians are participating in. Emily, you're fairly new at it. How about your role models? Who do you look up to in terms of being a comedy artist, someone who hopes to be able to do more of this, and you had a great teacher?
Yeah, well, obviously Poppy is one of my role models for comedy, and I think she's doing a great job. And I have to say, one of my favorite things about working with Poppy is that she's teaching us to punch up. It's not about making other people feel bad and making a joke at someone's expense, which I think that's sort of like an old way of doing comedy. And the new way forward is let's all laugh together, let's keep it here, laugh at ourselves. And that's a really great tool. We've got a lot of stuff there. I think Joan Rivers is inspiring. Louis Anderson, I loved. I used to be a costume designer, and I saw him live. I had a front row ticket in Thousand Oaks, California in 2019. And he just made it so intimate. It was like sitting in his living room and he was just talking to you and having a great time. So it was like having a visit with him. And he just brought so much warmth and energy to everyone in the whole theater. And then he stayed after and he spoke to everyone who wanted to speak to him. And I was nervous and I just left. I do have a Joan Rivers story, actually.
Oh, cool.
So when I was in high school, we went to Forbidden Broadway, which is a parody show that doesn't exist anymore. They used to do parodies of musical theater and whatever was on Broadway at the time.
I love Forbidden Broadway. That was a great show.
It was really fun. It was sort of like SNL, but for Broadway shows.
Yeah.
And so for a high school student to go, we did this parody class, and I did an impression of Joan Rivers.
Oh.
Because I saw Joan Rivers on all these fashion shows talking, Melissa, come here, and they said, well, just so you know, Joan Rivers is actually coming to the show tonight.
Oh my God.
And I was so excited. And then of all the places that she might sit, there was a table. I was at the edge of the table, and she was right next to me at the other edge of the table. And she was the tiniest woman I've ever seen.
She's little.
She was so tiny. So, it was just very synchronous, and all of that stuff really happens. Everything happens for a reason and as it's supposed to. And it was so cool to sort of conjure her.
Yeah,
You
wow.
know?
It's wild.
Who else? I mean, grew up with so many really funny TV shows. Obviously watched a lot of South Park and Family Guy. Like those were the things that were on TV when I was growing up. And
when I was growing up, Johnny Carson had that late show.
He was great.
I'm not sure if he was considered a comedian or just a talk show host that made people laugh, but
I think he was considered a comedian too. He was great. He had great timing.
He was terrific,
Yeah.
and I agree with you on the timing. And he had lots of fun with the guests that he had. What was it like, Poppy, being on the Oprah Winfrey Show?
Well, that is.
How'd you get there?
That was just so lucky. I mean, I got out to Chicago in 1988, and I left Rhode Island with a warrant out for my arrest, and I had to get out of town, and so I went to Chicago, and I immediately got into the comedy scene there. Like I knew if I left Rhode Island, I could grow, bigger and bigger and better. So I got out of Rhode Island, I got to Chicago, there was clubs everywhere, and it was so awesome. And I got into the Funny Firm, Zanies, Catch a Rising Star, the Improv. So I was doing all the clubs and the suburbs. And then somebody, it was like Oprah decided to do a show on how hot is it, because Chicago was having a humongous heat wave. And I think she probably, her producer probably called Zanies, and they said, we want 13 comedians to come in and do how hot is it jokes. And so they rounded up 13 of us, and I happened to got caught up in that big fishing net, and I was like thrilled to be on Oprah my first year in Chicago. It was great. So, and she was there, but she was actually in the process of losing a lot of weight. Like, remember when she was losing so much weight, and she carted out that big wagon of fat that she carted out, and that was how much weight she had lost. And anyway, she was not in a good mood because dieting doesn't put you in she's so hungry. You can never be in a good mood when you're hungry. But anyway, we did how hot is it jokes and stuff like that. And
she was a terrific host on TV for many years.
Yeah.
And very intelligent. I mean, we had people thinking that she should run for office.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of folks were very impressed by her.
Even the last election, people were trying to get her to run.
Did you save a copy of that show? And you look at it every night?
I did. I bet I could find it, but it would be really hard to find. And because it was on VHS, so it would be a hard thing to find.
Would you do the same thing over again if you were just starting out?
I would, but I would change a few things. I think I was very brave and bold to do what I did. I can't even believe I did it. I went to Chicago without knowing anybody, and just started living in Chicago. I went through Second City, and that was my vehicle to get out of Rhode Island. And just started living in Chicago, and then stayed there for 8 years, and then did the move again. Went to LA. I knew one person out in LA, and so I actually stayed with her for 2 weeks until I found my apartment in West Hollywood. And it was just brave and bold. But I got an agent right away when I got out to LA, because of the Joan Rivers thing. So when I got out to LA, I had a William Morris agent ready to make me a star. He was like, "What do you want, kid? What do you want? You want Saturday Night Live? You want your own show? What do you want?" I'm like, "Wow! I'm gonna make it. This is it." And so he's like, "Get comfortable at the Comedy Store," because that was one of the clubs there that you play at. And so I got comfortable and gave him a call. And about 3 or 4 weeks later, and they were like, "Who?" I'm like, "Bill Bronca," and they're like, "Oh, well, sorry, he went insane. Bye." Like, what? He's gone. He is gone. He is way gone.
That must have been depressing.
Very depressing. And so, like I said before, I enjoyed the alcohol a bit too much, and the other things that went along with it. And I wish that I had not been like that, because had I not been like that, I would have had a better sense of what to do in that situation. Mine was, oh, well, drinky, poo-poo. And so I blew it. I kind of not that anybody was going to pick me up because it was that guy who had a vision. You know what I mean? Like, it has to be, like, there's a lot of luck involved in LA. There's luck, there's talent, there's right place, right time. There's so much, it's such a three-dimensional hard game to play. And anyway, so I think I would have had a little more, I don't know, savvy about what I should have done next. And I just didn't do anything.
Are you happy with what you're doing? I mean, some people see it as a job, and some people just enjoy doing their work. Being a comedian, making people laugh.
I'm so fortunate. I'm so fortunate that I have this God-given talent, whatever God is. I do believe I have that talent. And what happens now is I try and continue to write every day, or not every day, but write a lot. And when I'm on stage, to be a conduit to that creative force, and let the people feel that force, and also let the force feel the people. It's weird. I just say, let me just be a channel. And if I forget to do that, I suck. But
I know that there are a lot of comedians out there that they do their job by poking fun at people. And some people understand it, and some are terrific at it, and others just don't make it.
Don Rickles was amazing.
Yes.
But also the times are different. Times are so different now. And also our genders are different now. And men, I feel like men really enjoy being poked fun at for some reason, like back then, and still now, it's still kind of there. Like, a lot of times I would open my show with, "Hey, how's everybody doing?" I'd look at, "Hey, you're good looking in a way," and far away.
Well, like I said earlier, I got a face for radio.
Right. And so people like that, and it loosens everybody up like that, and guys can handle it. But women, I wouldn't look at a woman and say that. You know what I mean? Women are a little more sensitive to looks, and so you have to be careful with who you're saying what to. And picking on people can work, but I certainly wouldn't rely on that.
Yeah, and Don Rickles was terrific at that.
Oh, brilliant!
He felt very comfortable picking on the other stars.
Right.
Johnny Carson would tell a few jokes. People would laugh. Don Rickles would come out, pick on Johnny.
Yeah.
And Johnny would just sit there and laugh, and that was worth watching the show.
Totally.
We have a lot more to talk about. We certainly have two comedians here with us. They are from Rhode Island, but people in New England like to listen and hear about comedy. They like to put a smile on their face. And as I said, I just got back from a cruise and
nice.
Heard a couple of comedians.
Yeah.
And I heard some of your tapes, Poppy, and I thought you were better than the people on the ship.
Well, that's nice.
So
Thank you.
I think that's a new twist that you might consider going back into.
Oh, I've been on some cruises.
So we are going to take another short break. I'm Dave Clifton, your host for Service Matters. Today, after 12 years of doing this show, not too often have I had comedians on poking fun at me. And I like it. And I'll be right back after these important messages.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of For the Love of Words. After a 3-year hiatus, join me, John Holgerson, and
Priscilla Almquist-Olsen,
as we interview poets and musicians. Could you give the audience a little summary of your background as a child?
When I turned 7 or so, we were car bombed. That stuck out.
And have them share their love of words.
Sometimes I wonder, do you ever think of me?
A thin broth of moonlight caught in the trees spreads across the garden brush, so one side of every stick shimmers while the other sides melt into one another, a mass grave of cherry, pear, and pine.
For the Love of Words at 7 p.m. on Thursdays.
Hello, welcome to Easton News. I'm Abby Kitchenham.
And I'm Jack Ryan, and together we bring you everything you need to know about Easton, including politics.
The annual town election is scheduled for Saturday, April 22nd, 2023.
Community events.
Be Inspired. Counseling presents a parent and child coping workshop centered around a new year and new beginnings.
And sports.
Pressure builds diamonds, so we live by that every day of practice, going into every game.
With APCSM guest segment Pet of the Week.
Hi, I'm Katie with the Animal Protection Center, and today we have a little Iris.
With help from special correspondent Wyatt Fain. Join us
for Easton News.
Playing 6 o'clock Friday, Saturday, and Sundays.
Don't have time to sit down and watch ECAT programs? Don't worry, ECAT has got you covered. That's right, ECAT has
podcasts!
Yes. ECAT Podcast Channel has your favorite shows that you could listen to. Whether you want to chill and listen to the Ron Van Dam Show and hear him talk about what's bothering him that day, or the show hosted by local legends Stephanie Weinstein and Meredith Keach, where they talk about anything and everything, or take a listen to the weekly news hosted by Jack Ryan and Abby Kitchenham. Stay tuned in with Tiger Talk hosted by Oliver Ames students. Community Forum is where their host Priscilla talks about all things Easton. Easton residents can also find government meetings about various topics. You can find the podcast on Podbean and all your favorite podcast platforms. Just by searching ECAT or the ECAT podcast, you can find it all. The ECAT podcast channel is powered by Podbean, so either in the car ride or walking around town, you can always catch what's going on with ECAT. Happy listening!
Welcome back to the final segment of Service Matters. And one of our goals, my co-host Val Perry and myself, is to try to put a smile on your face out there and make you realize, folks, that it's so important to do good things. And last week we talked about folks that you run into, and I ran into someone in a shopping center. He was shopping, standing in line, getting ready to pay for his bundles. And the woman in front of him couldn't find her wallet. So she reached around and she said, I think I'm going to put some of this stuff back. And the guy standing in front of me, behind her, he said, ma'am, how many children do you have? She had 2 carriages.
Oh, jeez.
And she said, I got 5 children. And he said, I'd like to take care of this for you.
Wow.
For you and your 5 children. She said, well, that's not necessary. I can come back. He said, I'm happy to do that. So he paid her bill.
That's
what a
nice.
good thing to do
Yep.
to help someone out. I was at Dunkin' Donuts one day, standing in line, not standing, but in my vehicle.
Yeah.
And the person in front of me paid for my coffee.
Oh, nice.
So I said, gee, that's terrific. I think I'll take care of the car behind me.
Yeah.
I looked in the car. They had 5 kids.
No. It was like that lady again.
Yeah, she's everywhere.
So if they could have ordered steak, they would have. But the fact is that I was happy to do that. And it makes me think, as I say to the folks out there listening or watching, do what you can to help your neighbor out. Do something good.
Yeah.
I got 2 guests here in the studio that are talking about making people laugh, putting a smile on their faces. And they feel very comfortable and very confident as they sit before the microphone. Any final comments, Poppy, that you'd like to make as a well-known comedian, certainly in Rhode Island, and it probably spreads further and will now that you're going into the Hall of Fame?
Well, thanks, Dave. You know what? One thing I like to do in my hot mic show, and I've started doing it, and I really like it, is I do this song, you know, on the sunny side of the street. I change it to on the funny side of the street. Grab your jokes and have a laugh. Leave your troubles on the doorstep. Just direct your feet to the funny side of the street. Can't you hear the people laugh? And that happy tune is in your step. Life can be so sweet on the funny side of the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that's something I heard about you, Poppy. Not only do you entertain with stories and jokes,
And bird calls.
but you can sing too.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the advantages that you have, and that's probably why you're in the Hall of Fame.
Maybe, because I add a lot, and I can add bird calls too. I like doing bird calls. Singing, bird calls, whatever.
And whale calls.
And whale calls.
Emily, what can you add to what we talked about as far as Poppy's concerned? I know that you consider her to be a role model. Is this your hope in your final comments to be a full-time stand-up comedian?
I want to do as much comedy as I can. And I think that, you know, I don't know that I want to be a full-time anything except myself, to be really honest. You know, like I like having the life coaching because it makes me able to carve out my own time and prioritize things that I really want in my life. I get to spend time with my husband and my cats and my family, and I get to spend time with my friends that I love and travel. And, you know, I see myself on tour. I see myself moving and telling jokes and connecting with people. It's important for me. I love, you know, I'm also a singer as well. So, you know, I was on tour with a musical theater show or like 15 years ago before I went to grad school. But, you know, just affecting people and being curious. I'm just really sort of endlessly curious about other people.
That's a magic word, curious.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt about it. I'm curious to see if we can play that song, Irish Eyes Are Smiling, as we salute all the folks out there listening and watching.
Hey, can I give John Parada's number if anybody wants to come to the induction?
Go ahead and do that as the music is playing.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, do it now. All right. So if you want to come to my induction into the Comedy Hall of Fame, Rhode Island Comedy Hall of Fame, John Parada's number is 401-639-7726.
Would you repeat that number again, just in case someone is driving over the bridge?
Okay. Don't drive off the bridge. 401-639-7726. And just call John and he'll hook you up with some tickets to see the show. Mm-hmm. Get them now because I know they're selling like hotcakes.
Yeah, they do sell out.
That's terrific. And where would the show be again?
So the show is at the Comedy Park Theater. So the Park Theater is like that big giant theater. And then right inside that is another comedy club inside the Park Theater. So it's called the Comedy Park Theater.
I wanted to thank you both for joining with us today. Poppy Champlin, and she's going into the Hall of Fame on May 20th, and we wish you nothing but the best.
Thanks, Dave.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
A lot of hard work. And Emily Taradash, I know that you are very much interested in not full-time, but at least part-time, doing what you can to put a smile on people's face. And folks, you can see the smile that Emily has.
It's really
She's just
good
thrilled,
smile.
To be here with Poppy, her role model. And of course, I'm happy that you folks joined us. A special thank you out there to our producer back at the radio station, Brett Ferruccio. I certainly would also like to thank a person who's been very helpful here, Adam Carrero. Adam pushes the right buttons at the right time so that we could provide the show.
Tech is so important.
Usually when we end our show, we end it with my favorite song, What a Wonderful World by Louis Armstrong.
Very nice.
And what a wonderful world it is because of people like yourself who provide the time to entertain and put a smile on people's faces. I say to each and every one of you, go forth to serve. Do it with a smile on your face. And if you're going to do something good to help someone out or put a smile on their face, certainly do it with the dignity that it deserves. This cablecast, as well as broadcast, is a production of Service Matters. Thank you for joining us. And happy holidays to all the Irish people out there. Happy
Thanks.
St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patty's Day.
Happy Patties, everyone.
Happy Patties.
Oh, indeed.
Grinning all the day long, for the springtime of life is the sweetest of all.